A millionaire loses his wallet, and a street kid returns it with a note. "You saved my MOM once." Nathan Brooks, 62, felt the familiar weight of his custom-made Italian leather wallet in his breast pocket. It was a symbol of his success, a tangible representation of the empire he had built. He was the founder and CEO of Brooks Tech, a software company that had made him a multimillionaire. He lived in a penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan in Chicago, surrounded by luxury, yet often felt a profound sense of emptiness. Nathan was a man of contradictions. He was known for his sharp business acumen, his ruthless negotiating skills, and his unwavering focus on the bottom line. He had a reputation for being demanding, impatient, and sometimes even arrogant. But beneath the polished exterior, there was a lingering sense of unease, a feeling that something was missing. His marriage to a socialite, Evelyn, had ended in a bitter and expensive divorce 10 years earlier. They had no children, and his relationships since had been fleeting and superficial. He had a few close friends, mostly business associates, but he rarely allowed himself to be truly vulnerable, to let anyone see beyond the carefully constructed facade of success. Lately, Nathan had been feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. Brooks Tech was facing a hostile takeover bid from a larger competitor, a company known for its aggressive tactics and its willingness to crush anyone who stood in its way. He was working around the clock, trying to fend off the attack, to protect the company he had built from the ground up. The stress was taking its toll. He wasn't sleeping well, his appetite was diminished, and he found himself increasingly irritable and short-tempered. He was also questioning his priorities, his choices, his life's trajectory. He had achieved everything he had ever set out to achieve, and yet he felt profoundly unfulfilled. He was on his way to a meeting with his lawyers, a crucial meeting that could determine the fate of his company. He was walking briskly through the city streets, his mind preoccupied with strategies and counter-strategies, barely noticing the people around him. He passed by a homeless man huddled in a doorway, his hand outstretched, begging for change. Nathan, usually oblivious to such sights, felt a flicker of something, perhaps guilt, perhaps pity, perhaps a fleeting recognition of his own good fortune. He almost stopped, almost reached for his wallet, but then he thought better of it. He had a meeting to get to, a company to save. He couldn't afford to be distracted. The weight of the wallet in his pocket seemed to increase with every step, a physical manifestation of the burden he carried, the weight of his wealth, his responsibilities, his anxieties. He was a man at a crossroads, a man facing a crisis, a man on the verge of losing everything he had worked so hard to achieve. And, unknowingly, he was about to lose something far more tangible, something that would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge his assumptions, force him to confront his past, and ultimately change his life in ways he could never have imagined. 5 years earlier, Nathan Brooks had been a slightly different man. He was still driven, still ambitious, still focused on his business, but he was also riding high on a wave of recent success. Brooks Tech had just gone public, making him an overnight multimillionaire. He was the toast of the town, featured in magazines, interviewed on television, hailed as a visionary entrepreneur. His public relations team had advised him to cultivate a more philanthropic image, to give back to the community, to soften his somewhat ruthless reputation. He had reluctantly agreed, seeing it as a necessary evil, a way to enhance his brand and improve his public standing. He had made a few large donations to various charities, carefully orchestrated events that were covered by the local media. He had posed for photographs with smiling children, shaken hands with grateful recipients, and basked in the glow of positive publicity. Then, one day, he received a letter that stood out from the usual pile of requests and solicitations. It was from a woman named Sarah Miller, a single mother who was struggling to pay for her daughter's life-saving surgery. Her daughter, Emily, had a rare heart condition that required a complex and expensive operation. Sarah had exhausted all other avenues, and she was desperately reaching out to anyone who might be able to help. Nathan was initially dismissive. He received dozens of such letters every week, and he couldn't possibly respond to them all. But something about Sarah's letter struck a chord. Perhaps it was the raw emotion in her words, the desperation in her plea, the photograph of her young daughter, her face pale and fragile, but her eyes filled with a spark of hope. Or perhaps it reminded Nathan of his younger sister, who had died of childhood illness many years earlier. His family had been poor, unable to afford the best medical care, and he had always wondered if things might have turned out differently if they had had more resources. Whatever the reason, Nathan found himself unable to simply discard the letter. He read it again and again, the words searing themselves into his memory. He did some research, verifying Sarah's story, confirming the legitimacy of her need. He then did something uncharacteristic. He called Sarah Miller directly. He spoke to her for over an hour, listening to her story, offering words of encouragement, and ultimately promising to help. He arranged for Emily to be treated at one of the best hospitals in the city, covering all the expenses himself. He didn't do it anonymously. He made sure the media knew about his generous act, using it as an opportunity to further enhance his public image. The surgery was a success. Emily recovered fully, and Sarah Miller was eternally grateful. She sent Nathan a heartfelt thank you note, expressing her gratitude in words that were both eloquent and deeply moving. Nathan had filed the note away, a reminder of his fleeting act of kindness, a moment of genuine human connection in a life increasingly dominated by business and ambition. He had quickly forgotten about Sarah and Emily Miller, moving on to the next deal, the next challenge, the next opportunity to expand his empire. But that one act, that one moment of compassion, would have unexpected consequences, ripples that would spread through time and eventually return to him in a way he could never have anticipated. It was a fleeting act of kindness, yes, but was also a seed planted in fertile ground, a seed that would eventually blossom into something far more significant, something that would challenge his worldview and force him to reevaluate his priorities. Jamie Miller, now 13, was a survivor. He had grown up in the shadow of hardship, learning to navigate the streets of Chicago with a resourcefulness and resilience that belied his young age. He was small for his age, but he was quick, wiry, and possessed of street smarts that kept him safe in a dangerous world. His mother, Sarah, had worked tirelessly to provide for him, juggling multiple low-wage jobs, struggling to make ends meet. She had never fully recovered from the emotional and financial strain of her daughter's illness, and the subsequent death of little Emily from complications 2 years after the surgery, despite the successful operation. They lived in a cramped, run-down apartment in a neighborhood plagued by poverty and crime. But Sarah had instilled in Jamie a strong sense of values, a belief in the importance of honesty, hard work, and compassion. She had told him stories about the kind man who had helped them, the man who had saved Emily's life, even if only temporarily. She had taught him to be grateful for the small blessings in their lives, to never give up hope, to always strive to do what was right. Jamie spent much of his time after school and during the summers exploring the city, often ending up near the Chicago River. He was particularly drawn to the bridges, the massive steel structures that span the water, connecting different parts of the city, symbolizing both division and connection. He would sit beneath one of the bridges, usually the LaSalle Street Bridge, watching the boats glide by, listening to the sounds of the city, dreaming of a better life. He would draw in a worn sketchbook, capturing the images around him, the towering buildings, the bustling streets, the faces of the people he encountered. He had a natural talent for art, a gift that his mother encouraged despite their limited resources. The bridge was his refuge, his sanctuary, a place where he could escape the harsh realities of his life, where he could let his imagination soar, where he could dream of a future that was brighter, more hopeful, more secure. He often thought about the man his mother had told him about, the man who had helped them, the man he had never met. He wondered what he was like, what he did, whether he ever thought about them. He had a vague memory of meeting the man, a fleeting image of a tall, well-dressed figure standing by his sister's hospital bed. He remembered the man's kind eyes, his gentle smile, the feeling of warmth and security that he had emanated. He wished he could thank him, tell him how much his mother appreciated his help. But he knew that was unlikely. The man was a millionaire, a world away from their humble existence. He was a figure from a distant past, a symbol of hope, but also a reminder of their loss. The bridge, for Jamie, was more than just a structure. It was a symbol of his life, a place of both hardship and hope, a place where he could connect with the past and dream of the future. The day Nathan Brooks lost his wallet was a day like any other, filled with the usual pressures and anxieties of his high-powered life. He had been rushing from one meeting to another, his mind preoccupied with the looming takeover bid of his company. He had stopped for a quick coffee at a Starbucks near the river, grabbing a table outside to enjoy a few moments of relative peace before his next appointment. He had been distracted, answering emails on his phone, barely noticing the people around him. He had paid for his coffee, put his wallet back in his pocket, or so he thought, and hurried off to his meeting, his mind already racing ahead to the challenges that awaited him. It wasn't until he reached his lawyer's office, several blocks away, that he realized his wallet was missing. He frantically searched his pockets, his briefcase, his jacket, but it was nowhere to be found. Panic set in. His wallet contained his driver's license, his credit cards, his business cards, and a substantial amount of cash. More importantly, it contained a small, faded photograph of his late wife, Eleanor, a precious memento that he carried with him everywhere. He retraced his steps, retracing his route back to the Starbucks, his heart pounding in his chest. He searched the sidewalk, the street, the tables outside the coffee shop, but his wallet was gone. He questioned the baristas, the other customers, but no one had seen anything. He felt a growing sense of despair, a feeling of helplessness that was unfamiliar and unsettling. Meanwhile, Jamie Miller was making his usual rounds, exploring the city streets, searching for discarded treasures, anything he could sell or use. He was near the LaSalle Street Bridge, his favorite spot, when he saw something glinting in the sunlight. It was a wallet, a thick, expensive-looking wallet, lying on the sidewalk near the entrance to the Starbucks. He picked it up, his heart beating faster. He knew it was wrong to keep it, that it belonged to someone, but the temptation was strong. He opened the wallet, his eyes widening at the sight of the cash, the credit cards, the unfamiliar symbols of wealth and privilege. He could use this money to help his mother, to buy food, to pay the rent. But then he saw the photograph, the faded image of a smiling woman with kind eyes. He felt a pang of guilt, a sense of empathy for the person who had lost this wallet, the person who had lost this precious memento. He remembered his mother's stories, the stories about the kind man who had helped them, the man who had given them hope. He remembered her words, her unwavering belief in the importance of honesty, of doing what was right. He made a decision. He would return the wallet. He would find the owner and give it back to him. He knew it was the right thing to do, even if it meant sacrificing a chance to improve his own difficult situation. He searched through the wallet, looking for some identification, some clue to the owner's identity. He found a business card. Nathan Brooks, CEO, Brooks Tech. He didn't recognize the name, but he knew the company. It was famous, successful, a symbol of the city's thriving tech industry. He also found a small, folded piece of paper tucked into one of the compartments. He carefully unfolded it and read the words, handwritten in a shaky scrawl. "I'm the son of the woman you gave money for surgery 5 years ago. My mother said thank you." The words hit Jamie like a physical blow. He recognized the story, the connection to his own past, the link to the man his mother had always spoken of with such gratitude. He knew, without a doubt, that he had found the wallet of the man who had helped save his sister's life. The lost and found had become a moment of unexpected connection, a convergence of two vastly different worlds, a testament to the enduring power of kindness and the ripple effects of a single act of generosity. The boy and the bridge had become the unlikely setting for a reunion, a reckoning, and a potential turning point in both their lives. Nathan, after a fruitless search, had returned to his office, defeated and dejected. He had reported his credit card stolen, canceled his appointments, and was preparing to face the tedious process of replacing his driver's license and other important documents. He was sitting at his desk, staring blankly at his computer screen, when his assistant, Sarah, a different Sarah, buzzed him on the intercom. "Mr. Brooks," she said, her voice hesitant, "there's a young boy here to see you. He says he found your wallet." Nathan was surprised. He had given up hope of ever seeing his wallet again. He told Sarah to send the boy in. Jamie Miller stood nervously in the doorway of Nathan's opulent office, clutching the leather wallet in his hand. He was intimidated by the surroundings, by the sheer scale of the space, by the aura of power and wealth that emanated from the man sitting behind the large desk. Nathan looked at the boy, at his ragged clothes, his worn shoes, his earnest expression. He felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of genuine human connection. "You found my wallet?" Nathan asked, his voice softer than usual. Jamie nodded, stepping forward and placing the wallet on the desk. "Yes, sir," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "I found it near the Starbucks on LaSalle." Nathan opened the wallet, verifying that everything was still inside. He felt a wave of relief, a surge of gratitude towards this young boy who had returned something so valuable, something that many others would have been tempted to keep. Then he saw it, the small, folded piece of paper tucked into one of the compartments. He carefully unfolded it, his hands trembling slightly. He read the words, handwritten in a shaky scrawl. "I'm the son of the woman you gave money for surgery 5 years ago. My mother said thank you." The words hit Nathan like a punch to the gut. He felt a rush of emotion, a flood of memories, a wave of guilt and regret. He remembered Sarah Miller, her desperate plea, her unwavering love for her daughter. He remembered Emily, the little girl with a heart condition, the girl he had helped, the girl who had ultimately succumbed to her illness. Tears welled up in his eyes, tears he hadn't shed in years, tears he hadn't allowed himself to shed. He looked at Jamie, at the boy who stood before him, the boy who was the son of the woman he had once helped, the boy who was now returning a kindness he didn't even know he had been owed. You're Jamie?" Nathan asked, his voice choked with emotion. Jamie nodded, his eyes wide with surprise at the man's reaction. He hadn't expected this outpouring of emotion, this display of vulnerability from the wealthy, powerful CEO. Nathan stood up, walked around his desk, and knelt down in front of Jamie, his eyes level with the boy's. He placed a hand on Jamie's shoulder, a gesture of gratitude, of connection, of apology. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with tears. "Thank you for returning my wallet. And thank you for your mother's message. It means more to me than you can possibly know." Jamie, unsure of what to say, simply nodded again. He felt a strange mixture of relief, pride, and a growing sense of curiosity about this man who had played a pivotal role in his family's history, this man who was now kneeling before him, tears streaming down his face. Nathan, overcome with emotion, struggled to regain his composure. He had been living in a world of numbers, of deals, of corporate battles, a world where emotions were seen as a weakness, a liability. But this encounter, this simple act of honesty and kindness, had cracked open his carefully constructed facade, exposing the raw emotions that lay beneath. He realized that he had been given a second chance, a chance to connect with his past, to make amends for his mistakes, to do something truly meaningful with his wealth and his influence. He had been given a chance to honor the memory of Emily, to help her brother, to repay a debt of gratitude that he had long since forgotten. "Jamie," he said, his voice regaining some of its strength, "I want to help you. I want to help your mother. I want to make things right." He didn't know exactly what that meant, what form that help would take, but he knew that he couldn't simply walk away, that he couldn't return to his old life, that he couldn't ignore the connection he felt to this boy and his mother. The note and the tears had been a catalyst, a turning point, a moment of reckoning that had forced Nathan Brooks to confront his past, to reevaluate his priorities, and to embark on a new journey, a journey of redemption, of healing, and of unexpected connection. The weight of the wallet had been replaced by the weight of responsibility, a responsibility he was now ready to embrace, a responsibility he was now determined to fulfill. Nathan's initial attempts to connect with Jamie and Sarah were met with cautious resistance. Sarah, understandably wary of the wealthy man who had once briefly entered and exited their lives, was hesitant to accept his help. She had learned to be self-reliant, to protect her son, to be suspicious of the motives of those in positions of power. Nathan, however, was persistent. He didn't try to force his way into their lives. He didn't try to buy their affection. He simply made himself available, offering his support, his resources, his time. He started by arranging a meeting with Sarah, a formal meeting at his lawyer's office, to discuss Jamie's education. He proposed setting up a trust fund, ensuring that Jamie would have the opportunity to attend the best schools, to pursue his dreams, to have a future free from the financial constraints that had burdened his mother. Sarah, initially reluctant, was eventually persuaded by the sincerity of Nathan's offer and by the obvious benefits for Jamie. She agreed to the trust fund, but she insisted on maintaining control over the funds, ensuring that they would be used solely for Jamie's education and well-being. Nathan also offered to help Sarah find a better job, a more stable and fulfilling career. He used his connections to secure her an interview at a local nonprofit organization, a position that aligned with her values and her desire to make a difference in the world. Sarah, surprised and touched by his efforts, began to see a different side of Nathan, a side that was kind, compassionate, and genuinely concerned about their welfare. She realized that his initial act of charity 5 years earlier had not been entirely motivated by self-interest, that there was a genuine core of decency beneath his polished exterior. The process of building trust was slow and gradual. There were awkward moments, misunderstandings, and lingering resentments. But Nathan was patient, persistent, and determined to make amends for his past mistakes. He spent time with Jamie, getting to know him, learning about his interests, his hobbies, his dreams. He discovered Jamie's talent for art, his passion for drawing, his love of the Chicago River bridges. He encouraged Jamie's artistic pursuits, providing him with art supplies, arranging for him to take lessons from a local artist. He also spent time with Sarah, listening to her stories, learning about her struggles, her resilience, her unwavering love for her son. He apologized again and again for his past actions, for his neglect, for the pain he had caused her. He gradually earned their trust, proving to them that he was not just a wealthy benefactor, but a man who genuinely cared, a man who was willing to invest his time, his energy, and his emotions in their lives. He faced his own challenges during this period. His business was still under threat, the takeover battle raging on. He was also dealing with the fallout from his divorce from Tiffany, the legal battles, the public scrutiny, the damage to his reputation. But he found that his focus had shifted. His priorities had changed. He was no longer solely driven by ambition, by the pursuit of wealth and power. He was now motivated by a desire to make a positive difference in the lives of Jamie and Sarah, to build a meaningful connection with them, to create a new kind of family, a family based not on blood, but on shared experience, on mutual respect, and on a growing sense of love and belonging. Facing the past had been painful, but it had also been liberating. It had allowed him to find a new future, a future filled with purpose, with meaning, with the genuine human connection he had so desperately craved. Nathan's initial attempts to help Jamie and Sarah had focused on financial assistance, on providing them with the resources they lacked. But he soon realized that true help went beyond just writing checks, that it involved building a genuine relationship, understanding their needs, and supporting their dreams. He learned that Sarah had always dreamed of opening her own small art gallery, a space where she could showcase the work of local artists, create a community, and share her passion for art with others. She had abandoned that dream years ago due to lack of funds and the demands of raising Jamie. Nathan, seeing an opportunity to help Sarah achieve her dream, offered to provide the financial backing for the gallery. He helped her find a suitable location, a small storefront in an up-and-coming neighborhood, and he provided the capital to renovate the space, purchase inventory, and cover the initial operating expenses. Sarah, initially hesitant to accept such a large investment, was eventually persuaded by Nathan's genuine enthusiasm and his belief in her vision. She saw it as a chance to not only fulfill her own dream, but also to create a better future for Jamie, to provide him with a role model, to show him that anything was possible with hard work and determination. The gallery, named the Bridge Gallery in honor of Jamie's favorite subject matter, became a labor of love for both Sarah and Nathan. They worked together, choosing artists, designing the space, planning events, and building a community around their shared passion for art. Nathan also focused on building a relationship with Jamie, becoming a mentor, a father figure, a friend. He took Jamie to baseball games, to museums, to concerts. He helped him with his homework, encouraged his artistic talents, and listened to his stories. He learned about Jamie's struggles at school, his difficulties with reading, his frustration with the limitations of his education. He arranged for Jamie to be tested, and it was discovered that he had dyslexia, a learning disability that had gone undiagnosed for years. Nathan hired a tutor to work with Jamie, providing him with the specialized instruction he needed to overcome his learning challenges. He also encouraged Jamie's artistic talents, providing him with art supplies, arranging for him to take lessons, and even displaying some of Jamie's drawings in the gallery. He was careful not to overstep his boundaries, not to try to replace the role of a father in Jamie's life. He understood that Jamie had grown up without a father figure, that he had learned to be independent and self-reliant. He simply offered his support, his guidance, his friendship. The relationship between Nathan, Sarah, and Jamie evolved organically, growing stronger with each passing day. They became a family, not in the traditional sense, but in a way that was unique and meaningful to them. They shared meals, celebrated holidays, and supported each other through good times and bad. Nathan found himself increasingly drawn to Sarah, admiring her strength, her resilience, her unwavering love for her son. He saw in her a kindred spirit, a woman who had overcome adversity, a woman who shared his values, a woman who had touched his heart in a way no one else ever had. He never confessed that he is falling in love again. He kept it for himself. More than money, Nathan had offered Jamie and Sarah his time, his attention, his genuine care and concern. He had helped them to achieve their dreams, to overcome their challenges, to build a better future. He had given them something far more valuable than wealth. He had given them a sense of belonging, a sense of family, a sense of hope. And in doing so, he had found his own redemption, his own healing, his own path to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. The act of charity had become an act of transformation, not just for the recipients, but for the giver as well. Years passed, and the changes in everyone's lives were profound, yet subtly woven into the fabric of their new reality. Jamie, once a shy, withdrawn boy struggling with dyslexia and the weight of poverty, blossomed into a confident, articulate young man. With the support of Nathan's mentorship and the specialized tutoring, he overcame his learning challenges, excelled in school, and discovered a passion for architecture, inspired by the very bridges he used to draw. He earned a scholarship to a prestigious university, a testament to his hard work, his talent, and the opportunities that had been opened up to him. Sarah, no longer burdened by financial worries and the constant struggle to make ends meet, found her own voice and her own purpose. The Bridge Gallery became a thriving hub for local artists, a vibrant space that celebrated creativity and fostered community. She became a respected figure in the art world, known for her keen eye, her passion for supporting emerging talent, and her unwavering commitment to making art accessible to everyone. The gallery also provided a space for Jamie to showcase his own artwork as he grew older. Nathan, having successfully navigated the takeover attempt of Brooks Tech, had stepped back from the day-to-day operations of the company, delegating responsibility to a trusted team of executives. He dedicated his time and energy to philanthropic endeavors, focusing on supporting education, the arts, and initiatives that helped families in need. He found a sense of fulfillment in giving back, in using his wealth and influence to make a positive impact on the world. The relationship between Nathan and Sarah evolved into a deep and abiding friendship, a partnership based on mutual respect, shared values, and a profound appreciation for the unexpected journey that had brought them together. They never rekindled their romantic relationship, but they always support each other. The relationship between Nathan and Jamie was a bond of love and respect. Nathan never married again. Jamie is the child in his heart. The American dream, for this unconventional family, had taken on a new meaning. It wasn't about accumulating wealth or achieving social status. It was about building meaningful relationships, supporting each other's dreams, and creating a life filled with purpose, compassion, and a deep sense of belonging. It was about recognizing that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the richness of human connection, the power of forgiveness, and the enduring legacy of kindness. The millionaire who had lost his wallet had, in the end, found something far more valuable: a family, a purpose, and a renewed sense of hope for the future. The ragged boy who had returned the wallet had not only gained an education and a brighter future, but had also given a gift in return. The gift of redemption, the gift of a second chance, the gift of a family built not on blood, but on the enduring power of the human heart.